Hi YouTube. I'm actually going to remake this last video because the last one I didn't like it very much. Okay, in this video for Hermeneutics, the last of the series, we're going to be looking at internal and external data, how important it is to be able to use these things to help us better to interpret the Bible. Now, the last few videos we've looked over exegesis versus eisegesis. We've looked at the pie chart showing the 8 foundational pieces of pie for interpreting the Bible properly. Let's see, we've looked at some other things as well. We've looked at some of the the eisegesis fallacies and how exegesis will correct those. I can't remember what else it was, but that's okay. It's now, as you can tell, with the sun coming in through my window, back there, you can tell it's the next day. So let's go ahead and look at 2 examples of internal data. Start off in Jeremiah 29:11. I'm getting ready to step on some people's toes, and that's okay with me. I've never been one to shy away from that. Okay. 29:11. For I know the thoughts that I think toward you, saith the Lord, thoughts of peace and not of evil, to give you an expected end. A lot of people read that. A lot of people, and I had one friend, oh, I claim that. You can't. You can't claim something like this. This doesn't apply to the New Testament. This applies to a specific people during a specific time. How do we know this? It's real simple. I read verse 1. In verse 1 it says, now these are the words of the letter that Jeremiah the prophet sent from Jerusalem unto the residue of the elders which were carried away captives, and to the priests, and to the prophets, and to all the people whom Nebuchadnezzar had carried away captive from Jerusalem to Babylon. Alright, so if you read that first verse of this chapter, it gives you the complete setup of everything that happens. So it's important that we look at the context. Internal data, most of it is going to be gathered directly from the context of the verse you're looking at. When you come across a difficult verse, and this one's not that difficult. Excuse me, I just woke up. When you come across a difficult verse, and this one's not that difficult, what you're going to look at is the context. What's happening in the verses surrounding it, in that chapter, maybe even in that entire book. But, in today's postmodern world, it's become selective citing. And that's the technical thing for it, selective citing. You'll take a verse, rip it out of its context, cite the complete verse, but you're not giving its context or meaning, and you're assigning a meaning to it. You're actually doing damage to the text of Scripture when you do that. I've called a lot of people out on that, where they're using really bad hermeneutics, and I say, listen, you're twisting the Scripture. You don't realize it. That's what you're doing. They get upset when I say that, and I always, if I'm going to call someone out on that, I always make it a point to explain it to them and say, listen, no, you have to take into consideration the context, the history, the grammar, blah, blah, blah. Whatever they're not doing, I point out to them. And that usually angers them even more, because then it's like, oh, well, So you think you know it all and blah, blah, blah. No, I just know the basics. Sorry. So yeah, that verse was specifically for Israel during the time of the Babylonian captivity. Written by the prophet to the elders and prophets and all that. So we need to take all that into consideration. Another example, go to 3 John. 3 John verse 2. Beloved, I wish above all things that thou mayest prosper and be in health, even as thy soul prospereth. There's a lot of people out there, they will, they will take that verse, see this? It is God's will for you to be healthy, wealthy, and wise. That's not what this verse is talking about. Look at the first verse. The elder, that's John, to the well-beloved Gaius, whom I love in the truth. Beloved, I wish above all that thou, that's a singular, referring back to Gaius in the first verse, mayest prosper and be in health, even as thy, singular, going back to Gaius in the first verse, soul prospereth. This is a general introduction. Like if I were to write a letter to you and I were to say, Dear Hannah, I hope you're doing well. I hope your business is flourishing. I hope all your finances are being met and your emotional needs taken care of. It's been a long time since we talked, blah, blah, blah. You know, I was happy to hear that your dog survived being hit by the car, whatever. You know, it's an introduction to a letter. And that's what this is. This is a personal letter. This is not an epistle. This is not historical narrative. This is a personal letter. This is like an email, a text message. A very long text message, or a very short email, but anyway, that's what it is. So that's an example of internal data, how internal data works to give us what we need to understand the text. External data. Commentaries are an excellent source of external data. I love this one. This is one of my favorites. This one was recommended by Dave Hunt, John MacArthur, Warren Wiersbe. Believer's Bible Commentary by William MacDonald. Gives you lots of background information, just like we looked before at Matthew 12:40. Actually, I want to read that entire section on 12:40. He told, and I'll raise my hand when it's in bold print so you know it's the scripture. He told them summarily that no sign would be given to them except the sign of the prophet Jonah, referring to his own death, burial, and resurrection. Jonah's experience of being swallowed by the fish and then disgorged, Jonah 1:17-10, prefigured the Lord's passion and resurrection. His rising from among the dead would be the final climactic sign of his ministry to the nation of Israel. Just as Jonah was 3 days and 3 nights in the belly of the great fish, so our Lord predicted that he would be 3 days and 3 nights in the heart of the earth. This raises a problem. If, as generally believed, Jesus was buried on Friday afternoon, rose again Sunday morning, how can it be said that he was 3 days and nights in the tomb? The answer is that in Jewish reckoning, any part of a day and night counts as a complete period. A day and a night make an onah, and a part of an onah is as the whole. It's a Jewish saying. So you see how they're in that one verse is just one example and that's one of my favorite examples to use, because it goes into culture, history, grammar, all that kind of stuff. And that's what you want from external data. So commentaries are a really good choice. One thing I mentioned before is Android users. The MySword app. The MySword app is absolutely amazing. Thousands upon thousands of dollars of free commentaries. Good old ones that have been around for a long time. Some of the ones I have available from BibleSupport.com. I got the pulpit commentary from BibleSupport.com for free. If I was to order one in hardcovers at a Christian bookstore, it'd cost me $1,000. I was able to get it free from BibleSupport.com for the MySword app. Some of the stuff on MySword, or some of the stuff from BibleSupport.com is really questionable. Some of it's downright heretical. But if you know what you're looking for, and if you know what you're looking at, it's worth it. So I want to recommend the MySword app. You can get that at www.mysword.info. Or if you look it up in Google Play Store. If I'm not mistaken, it may even be available on Android Market. I'm not positive on that one. Excuse me. So yeah, something to think about. There's a lot of good commentaries out there that you can get to give you information that'll help you understand. But as far as stuff, like I said in the beginning, this is not meant to be exhaustive. This is not even meant to be really an introduction. This is more supposed to be something to wet your whistle, get your appetite grooving, so that you'll go out and invest a little bit in your own hermeneutics. Maybe correct some of your hermeneutics. Take an interest in your hermeneutics, because bad hermeneutics can send you to hell, because it can lead you into false doctrine. And I know I've just upset a bunch of people by saying that, but it's true. If you're asking where I get my hermeneutics from, well, I'm going to give you guys some books you can get. A couple of them are free. Biblical Hermeneutics, that was it. Biblical Hermeneutics by Milton Terry is a classic in the field. You can actually find a free PDF download of that online. Otherwise, it's going to cost you like $80 at Christian Book Distributors, $60 at Christian Book Distributors. Absolutely nuts. Very expensive book for some reason. Another book I highly recommend, because that's pretty in-depth. That was used as a college textbook. But if you're looking at a simple book, I would say Basic Bible Interpretation by Roy B. Zuck. He's going to teach you the historical grammatical hermeneutics in a very effective way, in a very basic way. That's also used as a college textbook, but it's written for the average person. So that might be your best bet. Next to that, I would say there's one out by Henry Virkler, Biblical Hermeneutics or Bible Hermeneutics, The Principles and Processes of Interpreting Scripture. Just look up Henry Virkler Hermeneutics and you'll find it. That'd be a good one. And it's a little bit more in depth than Basic Bible Interpretation by Roy Zuck. And if you want to go even deeper yet, then I would recommend Evangelical Hermeneutics, The New versus the Old, by a guy by the name of, I think his last name was Thompson or Nelson or something. But yeah, Evangelical Hermeneutics, New versus Old. is supposed to go really in depth. I'm actually getting a copy of that in the next couple of weeks. I have to wait till after Christmas. One book I don't recommend, and it's one I'm going through now. I am now on the 7th of 13 chapters, and that's How to Read the Bible for All It's Worth, 3rd edition, by Gordon Fee, Douglas Stewart. The second chapter is nothing but a plug, an advertisement for the TNIV, which Gordon Fee was on the translation committee of. Oh, imagine that. And also the NIV. It is, in many points, anti-King James, anti-New King James, anti-ESV, anti-NASB. Basically, it is doing everything it can to keep you away from formal equivalence translations, which are word for word literal translations of the Word of God. So I highly recommend staying away from this. There is some good stuff in it. At the end of I think it was the 4th chapter, it gives you 10 points. Here it is, 10 principles for interpreting narratives. And this is from the chapter Old Testament Narratives, Their Proper Use. And I'll tell you right now, these 10 points are actually more in depth and easier to understand than everything you read previously in the book, in those 4 chapters. So it's got some really good information in it. However, even if you're reading it, you're going to see that in several points, Dr. Fee and Stewart, or at least Dr. Fee up to this point, because he wrote most of the chapters that I've read so far. Dr. Fee didn't even follow his own hermeneutics, and it shows. If you apply the hermeneutic principles he teaches, it shows that he didn't even follow his own principles. So yeah. But if you're only going to get one book for hermeneutics, I'd say Basic Bible Interpretation by Roy Zuck would be the way to go. So if you get that book, plus, say, this book, plus a study Bible, maybe something like this, then I think you'll be doing good. And I think you'll be good to go and cock-locked and ready to rock. So this is Chad. I got to get ready for church because it's 9 o'clock. I got to be there 45 minutes. I still got to shower, shave, get dressed, get my gear together, and head out. I love you. God bless you. Have a great day.